You're listening to the Intellectual Investor Podcast. To read this article online or to listen to more episodes, visit investor.fm. Charlie Kirk and the Cost of Courage. When Charlie Kirk invited me onto his show, I hesitated. I knew little about him and had heard mixed opinions. Out of curiosity, I watched a few episodes. What I saw was a man I often disagreed with, but also someone earnestly searching for truth and willing to listen with respect. Charlie had read my book and wanted to talk about it. I agreed to go on his show on the condition that politics stay off the table. What followed was a terrific conversation. You can find a link to the audio in the show notes. We spoke about cold showers, stoicism, mindfulness, the deeper questions of how to live well. In those moments, Charlie wasn't the political figure many love or hate. He was simply a curious human being who cared about more than politics. What struck me most was this. Charlie understood that free speech isn't singing Kumbaya with people who already agree with you. It's engaging with those you vehemently disagree with. He built a career on that principle, hearing, debating, and welcoming voices across the spectrum. This belief resonated with me deeply. I grew up in the Soviet Union, where truth was whispered only in the safety of small kitchens. Reading the wrong books, holding the wrong opinion. It could cost you your job, your freedom, even your life. I know what real oppression looks like. I lived through it. America, to me, was always the opposite, a place where disagreement was not only tolerated but celebrated, where ideas competed openly and freedom of thought was a birthright. But America feels increasingly fragile. The space for disagreement is shrinking, and fear of speaking up is growing. Charlie understood this danger. He believed in the marketplace of ideas, especially when those ideas challenged his own. In that sense, he lived his values with rare courage. After I shared these thoughts on X.com, my friend Guy Spear wrote something that touched me. Charlie Kirk had the rare courage to speak up for what he believed in, no matter the cost. How many of us were too scared? Afraid of losing our job, our investor base, our writing gig, our clients, our friends. The enemies of free speech only had a few high-value targets, and Charlie Kirk was one. But if more of us had spoken up and said what we know in our hearts to be true, then he would perhaps not have been such a lone voice. There would have been strength in numbers. How about more of us just develop a little more courage to stand our ground and speak our dangerous truth? That's something I will do in memory of Charlie Kirk. Guy is right. Democracy doesn't just die in darkness, it also dies in silence. It dies when fear keeps us from speaking honestly. It dies when we retreat into echo chambers. It dies when we reduce people to labels instead of listening to their ideas. Chris Rock once said, "Anybody who says words hurt hasn't been punched in the face. Words hurt when you write them on a brick. Words themselves shouldn't scare us. We should not be afraid to speak with those who disagree with us. I disagree with my past self from 5, 10, even 20 years ago, and I'm proud of it. That disagreement is proof of growth." In the Abracadabra chapter of Soul in the Game, I described how our words shape our thinking and how true learning requires humility, the courage to treat every belief as a hypothesis. That's why free speech matters. It forces us into the discomfort where real growth lives. In memory of Charlie, I want to honor that courage. I refuse to stay silent. I love this country too much to bite my tongue. This newsletter will remain focused on investing, life, and music. But if you'd like to hear my unfiltered thoughts on everything else, you'll find them in a link in the show notes. Rest in peace, Charlie. If you know someone who'd enjoy this episode, share it with them. To listen to more episodes, visit investor.fm. Enjoy life and prosper.